Live from the Palace of Auburn Hills, tonight's Continental Indoor Soccer League action has the Detroit Neon playing host to the Seattle Seadogs in a battle of two clubs that early on in the season find themselves in the lower half of their respective division. We take a look at the Eastern Conference first off. The Detroit Neon just one game below 500 coming into tonight, just a game and a half out of second place in the division, but also just a game and a half out of last place in the division. The saving grace for the Neon early on, they have played the least amount of games in the Eastern Conference to date. A very good evening, everyone, to you. John Allers alongside my color analyst, Joel Epstein, as the Neon and Seadogs each look to get back on track with victories here tonight from the Palace of Auburn Hills. Where the Neon are concerned, as coaches usually hope is the case, Joel, you want it to be Christmas in July. The Neon have suddenly found their offense in a man by the name of Kenny Snow.
Kenny Snow has back-to-back hat-trick games. He's tremendous at picking up loose change in front of the goal, and he knows where the bank is.
The story for Detroit's offense tonight, however, is not necessarily Kenny Snow who's in the lineup, but it's who's not in the lineup. Ever offensive Drago will be a scratch tonight for Paul Child's club.
Drago has a hamstring injury. He'll take a rest. He's the trigger man of the offense. It'll be interesting to see how Paul Child adjusts his attack this evening.
On the other side of the coin, we look at the standings in the Western Conference, and the hill a bit steeper for the Seattle Seadogs. They come into tonight's action coming off a loss in Indianapolis in their last outing, find themselves just 1-7. 4.5 games out of the top spot. Still a long ways to go. And again, where Seattle is concerned, much like Detroit, they have played the least number of games in the Western Conference to date, perhaps a saving grace where the Seadogs are concerned. The story for the Seattle team, however, is not offense, it's defense. And it's the final line of defense. It's in goal where perhaps they're as strong as anyone in the league.
They've given up the fewest goals a game, just 5.5. They've got the best tandem in the league with Nat Gonzalez, who will go tonight. Juan De La O joins the Seadogs, where he played in Mexico Taurus in '95.
Paul Child's club has not played much of late. The Detroit head coach's team has been off for a week, and that made actually one of his decisions to go with Yarrow a bit surprising, because P.J. Johns, the longtime veteran, has been a player who, at least early on, has admitted he needs his rest early in the season. Fernando Clavijo maybe crossing things up with his goal-keeping choice as he went with Gonzalez in the outing against Indianapolis last night, a 4-2 loss for his club. Many thought he would come back with Juan De La O, Joel.
We thought he would, but he's going with Gonzalez. And goalkeeping has been the story so far for Seattle. They've lost their two top scorers from '95. Mark Collins has joined the Sacramento Knights. Gene Harbour is with Denver in the MLS. So defense has been the story as they try to rebuild their offense.
Tonight's officials working for the Continental Indoor Soccer League.
There's Andy Chapman going over to shake hands with Fernando Clavijo. Clavijo will be our guest at halftime. One of the greatest players ever to play indoor soccer. And he was regarded as the fastest soccer player in the indoor carpet during the 80s. He played for San Diego, and he finished up playing his career in St. Louis as a player coach and an assistant coach there.
Last year, Yarrow spreading the field, feeling a little more comfortable out there, moves it ahead for Matlack, finds Jay White inside the Seattle zone, he scores! The left footer low to the left of Gonzalez. Detroit has a 1-0 lead.
You don't expect Jay White to get on the board very often. He plays in the back so much. That's his second goal of the season. He scored last time out against Houston here. Ball comes across to Jay. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He splits the Seattle defenders and tucks the ball into the far corner, low and hard, past the sprawled Nat Gonzalez. You can see Taitano jogging back, not getting back quickly enough. Great shot. You couldn't have dreamed it up any better than that for Jay White.
I believe Gregor's Matlack will pick up the assist. If so, that keeps his scoring streak alive. He's scored in every one of the 8 Detroit games thus far this season. Matlack has at least picked up a goal in every game as well, but this one will be an assist. 1-0 Detroit, just over 5 minutes into it, and off the right foot of Yarrow and in. Seattle answers right back. We are tied at 1, and that has been a problem for Detroit this season. Bruce Broughton has evened things up.
Particularly against Houston the last time the Neon played, it seemed that they'd score a goal, and then within a moment later, their opposition would come back. You can see Seattle fighting for the ball, Boom, right through his legs as Bruce Broughton decides, I'm going to take this ball with my left foot, and nobody came up to pressure him. And Yarrow was left all alone, but right through your legs, you need to get your hands down there. In baseball, you got to get your glove dirty is what we used to say.
Well, that goal coming just 20 seconds after White's goal, so it's all nullified and all even at one as the ball rolls around the boards into the Seattle arc where Nat Gonzalez comes up with it and scoops it away to the near side. Waiting there for it.
Madsen picked up the ball in space and then tried to work it off the boards to himself. Tim Whitman sort of shielded the ball, and Yarrow was there to collect it.
Shannon Murray putting the token pressure on in the Detroit end. As Yarrow just spins it up the near boards, nobody there, and Perdaman easily handles it at his own red line. Half a minute now to go in the opening quarter.
No foul!
Long down the near side where Edward Child will win the race to that one. Trying to turn and open some field up. Dion Earl is right on his belt, though. Finally gets some help. It's chipped into the arc and then headed away. Kevin Legg would be doing well just to get it out of harm's way. Perdaman fouls him from behind. That a favor to Detroit, and now 13 seconds to go in the first quarter.
Timmy Whitman goes flying in the air to clear the ball out of the arc for the Neon. Spectacular defensive play there.
Jay White just hammers at the length of the field. Headed back into the arc. Gonzalez got a piece of it, and to the rescue was Madsen, who booted it out of harm's way.
The Neon getting close but can't finish. Good defense on Seattle's part there.
And Kevin Legg picks up a rather flagrant foul at midfield as he ran his man over from behind. Perdaman, the quarter will come to an end as the ball is put back into the Detroit zone off the free kick, this time by Castillo. So the teams trade goals within 20 seconds of one another, and that's where we stand after one quarter of play at the Palace of Auburn Hills. The Seattle Seadogs won, and the Detroit Neon won.
Continental Indoor Soccer League action heats up this summer as the world's best indoor players compete across the United States and Mexico. Star players include three-time CISL scoring champion Tattoo, the 95 CISL playoff MVP Zizinho, and all-star goalkeeper Brett Phillips. You'll see great defense and high scoring all within the confines of a hockey rink. Don't miss a second of the action. The Continental Indoor Soccer League, ahead above the rest.
John Allers alongside Joel Epstein and Drago in the booth at the Palace. And what happens on this one, Drago?
Oh, that was great play from the free kick. However, I thought the first pass is going to be to Metlack, but the ball went all the way around, and surprisingly get the ball in the middle to Andy, who headed the ball in a net, and the ball bounced back to him on a volley. Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah, it looked like the first chance was the one that was really going to reap the rewards, and then it ended up coming back to him as he was on the seat of his pants.
That's what is the beauty of the indoor soccer. I mean,
Jay White missing with the left foot. Gonzalez didn't appear to react to that one as if he knew it was going wide and just stayed home. Now comes out and hammers it long down the left side. Yarrow took the chance, came out and booted it away. That's a tough decision for a keeper. You got a split second to make that decision, and the youngster made a good decision there.
You know what, you guys, you're right. I mean, Jay White really already had three, four shots and one goal.
Oh, Shanker put it on goal, and it was Chapman who jammed the rebound back on goal, and that freed it up for a rebound, and Gregors Matlack's goal scoring streak is intact. It's 2-1.
Unusual situation there. Nat Gonzalez not able to hold the ball. He gave the Neon more than one opportunity. Shanker and then Andy Chapman goes in, and Matlack cleans up that mess. Joel usually gets a better shot off the net, but he didn't need a better shot, Drago.
No, you know what? Actually, Shanker had a great shot, but look at Andy coming from nowhere. He attacked the losing ball exactly. I mean, the goalie supposed to get that ball in his hands, and suddenly Andy coming from nowhere, attacking the ball, rebound, and open shot.
Now
that was great work from Andy.
That's the key. If Chapman doesn't jam at that rebound, there's no rebound for Matlack. Matlack now has at least one goal in all 8 Neon games this season. That is 9th of the season, tying Andy Chapman for the team lead, and as a 3-line violation is whistled on Detroit, Chapman keeps his own scoring streak alive with the assist. He now has at least a point in 25 consecutive games, one shy of the club mark set in 1994 by the gentleman directly to my left. And I don't mean Joel Epstein.
The only bad thing about it is I will have to have Andy's next assist on his goal.
Now, I didn't see the nature of perhaps this injury as Yarrow is down on the carpet in the Detroit arc, and John Kibble comes out to take a look at him.
I'm going to speculate, John, it might have been in that situation where he came out to to the corner in that risky situation, and now he's getting his left knee, it looks like, checked, and luckily for the Neon, P.J. Johnson's dressed. They haven't dressed two goalkeepers, as far as I know, all season long.
4:25 to go, second quarter, minute 10 of the Detroit power play, 2-1 Neon. Fairbrother got it to the front of the arc, and that's hammered home easily. Kenny Snow, and it's 3-1 Detroit.
Ian Fairbrother surprised everybody in the building by not shooting that ball. We see him normally work to the corner and shoot that ball. Instead, you can see Ian is going to cut the ball back to a wide open Kenny Snow. Kenny Snow, his 7th goal in just 3 matches.
Team lead for Kenny Snow. He has 10 on the year, and as Joel mentioned, 7 coming in the last 3. And as you mentioned, Fairbrother set it up the first 2 times he had the ball on that side. He did take the shot, only to have one get through, the other be blocked. But it was the patience that we talked about Detroit using on the power play that ultimately set up the opportunity in their first 2-goal lead of the night. 3-1 Neon. Fairbrother draws the helper on Snow's 10th of the year.
And Ian has 5 points this season, all on assists.
And now an important remaining 4 minutes of this first half as far as both teams are concerned, but particularly for Seattle. Down by 2. This is not a team that's going to throw a lot of goals at you. They can ill afford to get down 4-1, especially at the half, because as Drago mentioned with us earlier here in the quarter, and as has been the case with Detroit this season, the Neon have been an excellent second half club.
It's that experience that he called on that has done them so well this season. Allows them to get themselves back together in the locker room. Paul Child does a nice job at halftime of getting the tactical side of their game back together if they've had a rough first quarter.
Fontana picking up the foul as Detroit has possession, and Yarrow spreading the field, chased by Erickson, loops it over the top. Oh, Matlack trying to find Chapman as he set it quickly to his left foot, but a little too much on it, deflected out of play, and with 3.5 to go in the first half, we'll take a break. Detroit has opened up a 2-goal lead over the Seattle Seadogs. 3-1 Detroit. The Neon with the game's first 2-goal lead as they put it back into play into the Seattle zone. The power play goal from Kenny Snow, opening the things up a little bit as Fontana hurries the other way and runs into Jay White. Kevin Legg coming from behind, and now White will give it back to him. Up the left side, Kevin Legg. 3:10 to go in the first half. Diagonally into the Seattle zone. Matlack let it bounce by, and Chapman freed it up, and it was right there for Matlack, who puts it home again. It's 4-1.
And this play was started on a beautiful pass by Kevin Legg. Kevin Legg, a la Monterrey La Raza, sends the ball diagonally across and into the boards, where it is picked up first by Chapman, who takes a shot, and then by, you can see, Kevin Legg blasts the ball to the far corner.
Second goal of the night for Chapman. Both of them have come on an assist from Chapman, where Andy first tried to take a shot, and the carom came back to Matlack. And that's an assist for Andy, and it's a goal for Gregors, his 10th of the year, tying Kenny Snow for the club lead, and more importantly, giving Detroit a 3-goal lead.
And he was a real unknown quantity before this season. He was playing semi-pro soccer in Chicago with the Eagles.
3-line violation of the Seadogs. Detroit trying to quickly put it back into play. Chapman got it low. Header by Kevin Legg is his first goal of the year. It's 5-1.
And now you can see why the Neon were in such a hurry to get the ball back upfield. They knew that Seattle did not have themselves together, and they had a plan for what they wanted to do with the ball.
And I'll tell you what, goalkeepers are left out of the offense an awful lot. They don't get much credit, but it was Yarrow who ran that ball down, quickly got it ahead to Chapman, who then, as you see, set it down and found Kevin Legg for the header home.
And nobody marking Kevin Legg whatsoever. He's standing all by himself with Nat Gonzalez, and that cannot make Nat Gonzalez very happy.
Yarrow will not pick up an assist, but he ran that ball down, gunned it right to Chapman, who was waiting at the red dot, and the celebration was as much with Yarrow as with anyone else. The rookie goalkeeper helping that goal as much as anyone. And Detroit now, with less than 2 to go in the first half, has widened a very close game into a 5-1 lead. Seattle Seadogs by a count of 5-1 at the half. John Ellers alongside Joel Epstein as we return, and a relatively close game throughout the first half opens up in the final minutes of the half, and perhaps as Seattle goes, Joel, you look at things and you say, here's a team that played last night. Not necessarily fatigued physically, but maybe they got fatigued a little bit mentally, and now they've got a pretty steep hill.
They do have a steep hill, and they've scored, previous to this game, just 5 goals in 2 ball games. So it'll be a tough task for Fernando Clavijo to rally the troops and try to get them back out here in an offensive way in the second half of this ball game.
Neon have indeed been a very good team in the second half this season, and let's go downstairs with one of the players who's been very good of late in general. That's Kenny Snow, who joins us now, the Neon forward who has 7 goals now in his last 3 games, including a goal earlier in this first half. And Kenny, I know before you got hot in these recent games, you were struggling a bit offensively. Is it any different out there? Are you getting more chances? Does it feel different to you?
Well, I came into the team a little bit late. I only had about a week to prepare before the first game, and now after playing a few games, I feel like I'm back to how I can normally play. And it was. I think I started off a little bit rusty, and now this is how I can play, and so I can expect more goals like this every game.
Kenny, you're playing with some of the most offensive-minded indoor soccer players in the history of the game, Drago and Andy Chapman. What have you been able to discern and pick up from them so far this season?
Well, playing with Andy, he's one of the best finishers, that I've played with, and if I can finish, half as good as he can, I'll be able to score. And playing with Drago, he can find anyone on the field at any time, with his vision and passing. So it's nice to play with those 2 guys.
Your goal that you picked up in the first half, Kenny, came on the power play, and the Neon have at times this season struggled on the power play a little bit, especially when the play doesn't come off a dead ball play. But Ian Fairbrother showed some good patience, shot a couple times from the right side, and then made the pass to you. It was perhaps the fact that he had shot the first 2 times that set up the goal for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, with his hard shot, they got to be, aware of that every time out. And, they were looking for it, and he just cut it back, and, it left me wide open in the middle of the box.
Well, Kenny, we can tell you need a little bit of rest. It's halftime. That's what it's for. We'll let you get back to the room for exactly that and get ready for a second half.
Thanks.
Kenny Snow, the Detroit Neon, joining us here in the first half. He has one of the 5 Detroit goals as the Neon enjoy a 5-1 advantage over the Seattle Seadogs. We'll take a short time out and be back with more after this from the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Halftime, we're back at the Palace. And we're now joined by one of the greatest indoor soccer players of all time and the Seattle Seadog head coach, Fernando Clavijo. Thanks for joining us, Fernando. Your team has not gotten started in probably the way you envisioned at the beginning of this season. The offense has really struggled, and of course you've lost your 2 top leading scorers from last year, Mark Collins and Gene Arbor. How do you rebuild for this 96 season with offense in mind?
Well, definitely one of the key transition we're trying to do in the off-season was trying to acquire Branko Segota, something that I did in the draft, but it didn't work out. Economically, Branko was offered a better contract from another team. Pretty much a loss. And losing Gene Harbour, like you said before, and Michael Collin left us a tremendous hole to fill, and right now we're struggling exactly because of that reason.
Back in 1989 through 1992, you were with the St. Louis Storm. You were the head coach and assistant coach, and you're also a player head coach. Is it possible we might see Fernando Clavijo put his uniform back on, get back out on the pitch, a la your old teammate Jim Gilbera, who's got the Washington Warthogs on top of the Eastern Conference standings?
It's one discussion that we have with my assistant coach right now, and it's go back. You never know. I definitely think that my hero as a player is gone, and I have to let the young players achieve what they can and show us what they can do. And I think we have a great player right now, more than anything else in the back. Normally, our problem, the biggest problem is scoring goals, and we want to make sure that we find the right people to do the job. And I don't think I'm one of them.
Fernando was one of the members of the 1994 U.S. World Cup team. Can you tell us what your most crystal memory of that World Cup experience was?
Well, definitely coming back to Detroit and especially pretty much time of the year. When we started the World Cup in '94, the first game for us was in Detroit. Getting to the stadium 2 days before, prior to the game started, prior to the World Cup, but the biggest game ever the United States will play. It was tremendous. It was a great experience, something that I will keep very close to my heart for the rest of my life. And that's something I try to put it back to my players.
We'd like to thank Fernando Clavijo, the Seattle Seadog head coach, for joining us, and we'll be back to look at the halftime stats right after this.
5-1 Detroit leads Seattle at the half at the Palace of Auburn Hills. John Allers and Joel Epstein back with you. All the scoring in the second quarter done from the feet of the Detroit Neon. As we look at the scoring summary from that second quarter of play, you're going to see nothing but Detroit goals. It was a 1-1 tie after one quarter of play, and then the Neon doing all the scoring in that second quarter of play. First it was Gregors Matlack continuing his own personal scoring streak now at 8 games, giving Detroit a lead that they have yet to relinquish. Kenny Snow with his 7th in the last 3 games on the power play from Ian Fairbrother at 10:40, and that really began a roll for Detroit as a 2-1 game exploded into a 5-1 Detroit lead. Then it was Matlack again from Chapman just over a minute later, and with less than 2 minutes to go, off a free kick, Kevin Legg's first of the season, a header from Andy Chapman, who has 3 assists in the first half. Detroit leading at 5-1. And Joel, as we look at the numbers from the first half of play, they were fairly even after one period of play, but they're really starting to lean Detroit's way.
They are, except for the fouls, of course. Seattle's trying to keep the game close. Neon did a nice job of taking advantage of the opportunities that they did get for themselves in the second quarter and finishing them, thus making the score 5-1 at the half.
A tall order for Fernando Clavijo and the Seattle Seadogs as they head into the second half of play, trailing the Detroit Neon by a 5-1 count. We'll take a break and be back with more from the Palace after this.
I said, what's in it for us? Now I know better. America Online makes our lives easier. It saves time and money, too. Look, I'll show you.
You've got mail.
My wife's family is all over the map. Big phone bills. Now she uses email. Just point, click. She says it's a great way to keep in touch. I don't mind saving for retirement anymore. I can research mutual funds, chart all my stocks, and do my banking all from home anytime I want. Now I have more time for family fun, like playing computer games. We download all our favorites and get a teacher's help with homework. No wonder the kids area earned the Parents' Choice seal of approval. I used to be intimidated by the internet and the World Wide Web, but thanks to America Online's great new web browser, I'm right at home. And there's more. Scan hundreds of magazines, get sports scores, enjoy hobbies, even shop online. So call this toll-free number and get everything you need to make your life easier and more fun.
Try the new America Online. Call 1-800-819-3737 for your free startup kit and 15 free hours.
Thrills, kills, and bone-crushing kills. These ladies rock. The Sirens of the Center serving it up in the ultimate in beach volleyball. Women's professional volleyball. WPVA action. All season on your regional sports network.
Seattle's
It's some magic for himself.
So a free kick for Detroit. Gregors Matlack will trigger this one from the top of the arc. He of the big left foot score! Oh, the hat trick for Matlack, and he made that look easy.
He really did, and it's a function of his ability to shoot with his left foot. You put that in the near corner. The wall is supposed to protect the near post. Goalie's got the far post. In that situation, the goalkeeper needs to line up the wall, and you can see that the near post is open. Actually, he nutmegs Valdivia, excuse me. He nutmegged the ball, goes right through the middle, and when you're playing in a wall, what's a wall? What's the connotation of a wall?
No holes.
Right, no holes. The ball's supposed to bounce off and go back the other way.
Well, Valdivia left the 5-hole open, if you will, to coin a hockey phrase, and as Joel mentioned, nutmegged right through him, and it is 6-1 Detroit. Matlack has half the Detroit goals, and now has the team lead on the season as he has 11.
Unassisted goal for Matlack. Now I would suspect the Neon will try and bring out some of their younger players, guys who don't play as much, to fill out some of the rest of this time and try and rest some of the older players that they have.
Well, I mentioned Chapman with the 3 assists. Matlack 3 goals and an assist tonight. He's had his biggest offensive output as a member of the Neon or in the CISL, and almost got to another loose ball between the red line and the top of the arc there. Fairbrother trying to play it away, but it goes off the boards right to Erickson. Seattle still with plenty of time, but this is a team, as we have mentioned numerous times, that struggles offensively. They have just one to show for themselves through 40-plus minutes now of soccer. And trail 6-1. Just under 20 minutes to go in the game, and 4:40 remains in the third quarter. The Neon can definitely be patient and definitely be cautious as Whitman spreads the field with Yarrow. Matson heads it back the other way. And Murray turns with it. Ahead for Dion Earl. Wild right footer, misses everything off the high glass. Eric Precht, seeing his first shift of the game, deflects it away and chases to midfield. Murray gets it back, sets it to the corner. Yarrow quickly came out, lost the handle. Broughton's shot blocked by Tim Whitman. who came to the rescue that time. Yarrow got caught chasing the ball.
No business being out where he was. Luckily, Timmy Whitman was a wall on that play and prevented Seattle from getting much of a shot off.
Dion Earl gets his own carom off the hand of Yarrow as he was trying to set it into the arc and is forced to play it out to midfield where Matson will send it across. Into the arc, Broughton tripped over Yarrow. Loose rebound to the far side. Came back to Broughton. Earl who will score on the near side. Dion Earl, it is 6-2.
Well, if you keep knocking on the door, eventually it's going to open. Neon a little sloppy with their defensive play. Weren't able to get their feet on the ball and take control of it. Seattle did a nice job here of keep working. As you can see, Dion Earl's parked by himself on the left side. Bruce Broughton has a part in both the goals this evening. He scored the first one and assist on the second.
Well, Seattle's not done yet. The Sea Dogs again answer back as they did when Detroit scored the game's first goal. And again, it is a 4-goal game. And at 11:20 of the third quarter, Seattle has their second goal of the game. Dion Earl has his second of the season. 6-2, Detroit on top. Seattle has cut it back to 4, a 6-2 Detroit lead inside 4 minutes to go third quarter. Teams trading goals here in the third quarter. Seattle trying to get a little more offense generated as they hope to get any closer as this one goes on. Play at midfield. Andy Chapman comes back to get a piece of it. Now just sends it ahead long on the left side, and Matlack just couldn't run it down as Gonzalez came out and took it away.
Gonzalez did a nice play there, both offensively and defensively, getting the ball out to one of his plays. Look at this fight.
Chapman was battling with Pernia, and then it wasn't Pernia who came steamrolling in. There was a second Seattle player while Andy Chapman was down on the seat of his pants who just came in and ran him over.
Mess with Andy Chapman in his building. Leo Pernia, as you can see, they were scrambling Broughton to make that Ferdinand, and Chapman were scrambling on the ground. And Pernia, he's a race car driver in the offseason in Argentina. He's used to some danger, been involved. Looks like they're both going to the box.
Well, that was actually pretty blatant. You see Chapman is down on the seat of his pants. Over comes Pernia, who just ran into him, and Andy taking exception to that, as well he should.
Well, he went down on the court, John, and he shouldn't be playing the ball. You can't play the ball from the ground in soccer, and he was. And you can see Perdiman. All Perdiman had to do was just stand there and go, ref. He's on the ground. He can't play the ball, but they never blew the whistle, and the refs have to take their share of the blame in this. They should have blown the whistle as soon as they seen Chapman on the ground trying to play the ball.
Well, Pernia came flying in, but as the replay indicated there, it looked like Perdiman had him in a pseudo headlock right before that and then kind of leaned on him, and I think that was really the impetus of what caught Andy's ire. And as you mentioned, they both will take a seat. They being Chapman and Leo Pernia, although Perdiman somehow stays on the field.
Dion Earl.
Well, Pernia will need to be careful from here. Excuse me, Joel. He's picked up 4 minutes of penalties already, 2 different 2-minute infractions here in this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I certainly could be. If he gets one more, he's done, is he not?
I believe so.
Three blue cards in a game equals a red card.
Well, he had 63 fouls in 95.
Well, there's a shot that snuck right through Yarrow, and hello, Seattle back in the game as Dion Earl got that one through the left arm of Yarrow, and now 6-3. Detroit's lead is down to 3.
Dion Earl 1v1 versus Timmy Whitman. He beats him to the left side, and he is left-footed. And that goal, as you mentioned before, John, Yarrow's not holding balls. That's a ball he should have been able to hold there, and he wasn't able to. Dion Earl blasts it with his left foot. That ball was moving at pace. He was in pretty close, too. Dion Earl had 13 goals last year, and he's working his way back up to that mark again this season.
A once seemingly comfortable 6-1 Detroit lead now finds itself at 6-3 with all kinds of time left. Still over 2.5 to go in the third quarter.
Come over.
Play at the Palace of Auburn Hills is in the offing. The Neon had gotten comfortably ahead in the third quarter after taking a 5-1 lead to the break at halftime, as they initially took a 6-1 lead, but then Seattle found some offense. Gregors Matlack unassisted off a free kick from the top of the arc, completing his first ever hat trick as a member of the Neon at 9:16, and that got things started. Then it was Dion Earl from Bruce Broughton at 11:20, and Seattle's Earl again unassisted at 12:12, his third of the season, second of the night, putting Seattle very much back in the game. It is now 6-3. And the stats still lean Detroit's way a little bit, but I think Seattle found their offense in many ways in that third quarter, Joel.
Seattle is really taking control of the game, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the Neon. If the Neon gets slappy in the back, Seattle will be able to get themselves back in this ball game. You can feel the momentum shift, and now Mirko Castillo will start here at the beginning of this quarter. They need him back there. They need his offense. He is the leading scorer on this ball club. You know, he has a very unusual ritual he goes through before the games. He is Peruvian originally, and he prays to the Lord of Peruvian miracles before each game.
Well, that's one miracle the Seadogs hope comes true. One of those prayers here in the fourth quarter. It's certainly not necessarily a far cry in the indoor game to come back from 3 down heading into the fourth quarter.
And the Neon,
Seattle take it here in the second half.
Which is rather odd because the Neon have been a second-half team all season long.
As the play has pretty much been played in one end of the field, it's almost as if the carpet's a bit tilted suddenly. The Neon, if you will, going against the grain.
Running uphill against the wind in the second half here.
Yeah, you mentioned the second half mastery Detroit has had. They've been outscored here in the second half, just 2-1 by Seattle, but as Drago mentioned when he joined us in the second quarter, the Neon have won every second half they've played this season, and while that may seem like a real basic term, that's what teams try to do. They try to win quarters, they try to win halves. Put enough quarters and halves together, you win a whole lot of games.
You know, you had mentioned there's a
boy, that shot went right in and right back out from Titano, the newcomer, off the dead ball, and all of a sudden it's a 2-goal game.
And I wanted to mention to you because every time they've had that situation in the past, Titano shot the ball. You kept mentioning that, and the one time he passed it, Kearney is wide open. He wastes no time. He slips the ball between, looks like Shaker and Jason Davis, and past Yarrow, and now we've got quite a ball game on our hands with just under 12 minutes left to play.
Yeah, that one was in, that one was out, and now the Neon suddenly don't feel quite so good about what was once a 5-goal lead.
They look very flat. Boy, he's a young-looking player. He's only 20 years old. He is the youngest player on their team.
11:52 to go. Suddenly a precarious 11:52 for Detroit. The Neon lead is now 2. The final 2.5, at least the Detroit Neon hope so, and out comes Leo Pernia as the 6th attacker for Seattle. They will let him join the play offensively and try to generate something on a virtual power play as he will leave the Seattle net. Seadogs have scored 3 of the 4 in the second half and taken a 6-1 deficit, cut it to 6-4, and now as they get it into the Detroit arcade, frustrated Perdaman puts it over the glass and out of play. Or checking it was Fontana, Marcelo Fontana. He's frustrated. He knew he was unmarked down low, and all he did was throw it out of the building.
Neon dodged a major bullet there. They let the ball go all the way to the front of the goal mouth without getting a pawn.
Well, Yarrow got it all the way over the top to Chapman, back into the arc, and Whitman just couldn't steer it on goal. Seattle just trying to get it out of the zone right now, as Pernia, of course, not the normal keeper, stays back.
Whitman tried to thigh that ball because it came up so high to him, he couldn't really get his foot on it. It was a bang-bang play.
Down to 1:50 to go as Seattle in transition the other way brings it in. Fontana off the left flank. Sharp off the glass into the arc, bounces all the way back out. Now Pernia sets it down, shoots, and that knocked away by Fairbrother. High in the air it comes out. Titano leaves it back for Leo Pernia. 1.5 to go, 6-4 Seattle. Toby Titano gets it inside the line. Erickson just tried to turn and shoot. That was blocked by Chapman. Back out to Titano. Moves it across nicely. Shot off the boards right in front. And Fontana just couldn't trap it. Fairbrother comes out and hammers it into the crowd.
This is a difficult situation for the Neon at best. It's always hard to play against a 6th attacker, but when you have a goalkeeper that has only played 1 match so far this season out of the games you've played, you're not used to having him back there. So in those tight situations, you know, if he's coming for the ball, he's going to call for the ball, or if you need to get the ball.
Down to a minute 5. Seattle really cannot afford to be as patient as they're being right now. Pernia sends it in off the corner to Murray. He sets it back to Tano now to the corner. Murray back to Fontana. Fontana and Murray play the two-man game. Tried to jam it in front, blocked by Fairbrother, who's done a yeoman's job defensively here inside the final 2 minutes. Pernia sends it through, and Fontana let it go right through and knocked away the bounce to the field and into the net. Jay White scores from 185 feet away. Detroit will win this evening. It is 7-4.
Jay White knew enough just to blast the ball away. He didn't hammer it that hard. He put some pace on it. He got it past all of the attacking Seattle players.
Well, of course, that's the downside to the sixth attacker. Pernia, you see him at midfield, knew he had no chance to get to it. And that one had good overspin on it. It wasn't going to bounce any other direction but straight and go anywhere but forward. And now with just 39 seconds remaining, Detroit with a 7-4 lead in what is going to end up being a very hard-fought victory for the Neon here tonight, but they will get it back to 500.
Pernia is wearing a jersey that says no goals on the back of it. Not so this evening as he's playing the sixth attacker. He lets it go up a la Jay White, who is standing in front of his own goal. He sends it the length of the court. That's why accuracy is one of the important factors of playing soccer, not just speed on the ball, but accuracy.
Well, White has his second of the game, third of the season. He bookends the goals, at least until now, as Yarrow plays it up off the big scoreboard here at the Palace. White had the game's first goal. At this point, he still has the last goal of the game. 7-4 Detroit. And the Neons still crossing the T's and dotting the I's with only 29 seconds remaining. Stranger things have happened. Catano off the dot, put it right on. Yarrow stayed home, made the save, and lofts it long over the top. And again on one hop into the Seattle bench. Part of the rookie's game that has not been sharp tonight.
But Yarrow did hold that ball. Ben Erickson, for Seattle, was at the doorstep. The ball has come out. It was going to be Erickson's ball. Yarrow did a nice job of holding it.
Final seconds as it's looped over the top into the Detroit arc once again. And Yarrow takes his time to leave it for Fairbrother. It's then looped all the way down into the Detroit end one more time. Final seconds of the game as Seattle continues to work. Give them credit. Fontana will try to take a shot. Blocked by Fairbrother as the game comes to a close. And the Neons back on the winning track have won their fourth and 5 tries at home. Seattle remains winless on the road and winless against the Eastern Division despite a strong effort in the second half of play. But Detroit had built up just too big a lead through the first 30 minutes, and Seattle cannot come all the way back. Our final score tonight from the Palace of Auburn Hills, the Detroit Neons 7 and the Seattle Seadogs 4.